What's up?
All right, so we're back. First thing, I shaved. It's all gone. It's only like 2 days in.
No more hair.
No more hair, hairless.
So what's going on, Vic?
Oh man, so much is going on. I got a VPN. Let me see. I work a lot more. School's about to start. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Big things. Big things are happening. We went, as in the description, we went through a magical journey today.
Looking into music.
Music. Yes.
Getting
So
into music.
we looked at. I guess we should start from the beginning. So we got into rap music from Pueblo.
Just out of curiosity, just looking for, or just in Colorado in general,
Yeah, pretty
trying to
much.
find any kind of um,
Anything.
yeah, like some kind of a
Anything.
rap culture. What kind of rap culture do they have out here? And we stumbled across a few things. There's some stuff out here. It's more like a battle rap kind of
Yeah, it's a battle rap
style that we
area.
kind of stumbled upon. There's a little bit of rap. I don't know how to really describe it. It's just kind of like
Eminem.
Eminem. You
Yeah, it's
can't even
like
say Eminem.
Eminem,
Eminem.
an enemy.
Eminem. It's kind of punchlines and stuff like that.
hmm
It's not a whole lot about struggle or
Anything.
um, being the best necessarily,
Yeah.
other than being like the best lyricist, I guess. But yeah, it was
And
interesting.
it's all staged. It
Oh, the
seems like
battles, the
the battles are
battles they were
staged.
interesting in that. Yeah, there were
It was
some
weird.
pre-written.
I mean, it's cool that they're getting all their stuff out there, but at the same time, it seems a little bit disingenuous.
Yeah, of course, a pre-written battle is not the the way to do it unless you're a celebrity on a show called Rap Battle or something like that.
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, it was interesting to see that there wasn't a bunch of culture necessarily, and we started to think. I mean, what would you be boasting about? Because the culture of
Riding in my
rap.
Chevy.
Yeah, it's like
Riding in my
what are you
Chevy.
boasting about? I see some stuff here where we're at in Pueblo, with the lowriders and stuff
I
like
feel
that.
like we can easily construct this notion of culture in Pueblo and it kind of take off. And I was thinking about when we watch these things, and however, it's just finding someone to perform it. It's going to
Yeah,
be a whole nother
yeah.
issue. But
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Pueblo does have a little something with their lowriders and that kind of culture,
in the
the Chicano
drugs and stuff
country
like that,
culture. Yeah, there's some drugs.
drug stuff like that.
I'm like, I mean, for me, it's like, why is nobody talking about all this weed and stuff? There's so much weed,
hmm
and I don't know why people aren't really boasting about that. I don't know,
mm
but
I don't know. And then we went to your stuff when you started, when you were younger and what
oh
you were
yeah,
starting.
well before we get, we did come across a little team or whatever, I guess a little team of guys, and we stumbled across a track that they had. They just released it, and I was just talking shit about anything that says 2019. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. It's old stuff. I want new content.
Yeah,
I want
new
some
content,
new
new stuff, new
2020
data.
stuff, right? Because of the age of social media that we're in, right? But anyways, we found some kids. They had just released it, I think, like that day, yesterday, as a
Oh
matter of
wow,
fact.
oh
Yeah.
wow.
So we found it within hours of it being released, and yeah, they had a good little thing going on. It
Hmm.
was. You remember it?
No,
You don't remember?
there were
It
so
was
many we
like,
went through. I don't
no, but
remember
it was
everything.
it was ultimately like the last one where I was like, whoa, these two dudes have something kind of going on.
Oh yeah, yeah, where
Yeah.
they kept going, they kept going.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. I do remember that.
It was like something about uh cracking a pistol or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe we'll put it in the comment section or description
Right. Maybe
later.
we will, right? Maybe
Yeah,
we'll give them a shout out because I
yeah,
did dig the track.
yeah.
It was catchy
It
as
was
hell.
cute. It was
Yeah, they
cute.
had another one too as a little follow up, and it had me going. But anyways, it reminded me of a duo that I remember of almost like a decade ago. When I was telling you that we would
What the heck was that?
this
What are you
dude
doing, man? Sorry,
this
Arduin's
dude I don't know what the hell he was doing.
trying to sneak up on the laundry.
Yeah,
What's it called? The washer.
I guess.
All right.
Anyways, so yeah, about a decade ago, I had came across a couple guys, and they were a couple of Caucasian guys,
Yeah.
and they were good. They were good, and this was in Texas, so there was a Texas vibe, kind of happening and stuff, and so it wasn't like straight, like screwed up click type stuff, but it
Yeah.
had some, some
Remnants
remnants,
of this
yeah, of the
other band we
Texas
were
sound,
mentioning. Oh,
Texas
okay.
sound also, and also like what those kids sounded like,
Yeah.
their kind of style or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
other how they perform. Um, and so yeah, we got into that and pulled out that music. I actually found it,
Yeah. Yeah.
we put that in, and
Yeah. It wasn't
it was like,
horrible. Wasn't
man, yeah. And
horrible.
so we started thinking about the good old days of when we had, I had just stumbled upon these guys and was actually able to put them on stage, and they were, they did well. They did some performances, and they started, getting the crowd, and they did well. And so, just had us going on some music. So we just got deeper into music, and I don't even know how we started talking about one of my other buddies who's a DJ, and how his style was, prior to all of this digital stuff with all these boards and all this other digital files and whatnot, and he was still using vinyl. And the type of music that he preferred to DJ was like this house music.
And that's where we start our
And
journey.
we get into house music, and what the
House.
heck is
So I
house
didn't know
music?
what was,
Right. And I
and
didn't really know how to describe what the hell house
so
was,
from someone who doesn't know what it is, house music is underground music that's almost essentially meme culture music. And so the easiest one to kind of say is house music is the song, and it's basically all it says in the song is just dance till you're dead.
Dance to your dead.
Yeah, and it's just dance till you're dead. And if you see it, it's if you ever seen a meme, if you're into memes, who's not into memes? Anyways, so if you're into memes, house culture is Maddie, stop. House culture is like the dance to your dead, and it has the dog like kind of rubbing his back against the wall, and it looks like he's dancing,
Mm.
and that's the meme. And so essentially that's what house music is. And so I'm like, well, what's the history of house? What did it become? What did it end up leading to? And then we saw was 2.5 hour documentary on
Yeah,
it.
I think so.
Yeah, 2.5 hour documentary on house music.
Yeah.
And it basically goes like this. It was made once upon a time ago. Its popular topics, kind of its subtopics, are going to be like rave music, techno, a lot of stuff from the UK in the late 80s and 90s, and then disco.
Mm.
And it was predominantly for gays and people of color that loved it. And essentially, what happened to it is that it was all underground. It's all underground, and it changes every couple of years, and it's always something new. It's always experimental. It's always kind of this electronic beat. And then it got me thinking about, what about Enigma? If you ever heard that band, I don't know how to describe it other than it's like a pan flute and it's real sexual. Like that's the only way I can describe sadness.
Almost more ambient.
Yes,
Yeah,
ambient
more
music.
of an ambient sound,
Yeah, and
instead
so
of like a driven bass,
yeah,
dance
keep
kind of
going,
sound,
just doesn't stop, doesn't
Yeah,
stop.
so it was like, well, what is something that was, electronic, more like lo-fi kind of,
Yeah,
and that direction, and more of like an ambience.
yeah,
And
and
so
so
yeah,
I ended up looking up, well, what genre of music is this Enigma genre? Because I thought that's what house music was, but it's not. It's its own little thing, and its genre is called New Age.
mm,
And we ended up trying to look up a documentary for that, and then ended up stumbling across New Age religion. Yeah, New Age religion.
we found more information about New Age religion than we did about
New Age music. Yeah, and you
So
really can't find too much on it other than it's just this kind of ambient music,
right,
like this
yeah.
Enigma
So
sadness
yeah,
or lo-fi.
we went back to it, listened to it, and yeah, it does have a lot of like organs and stuff like that, like a lot of
Yeah, a little bit of synthesizers, little
yeah,
pan
yeah, yeah,
flutes,
yeah.
some organic and
Right.
some inorganic.
Right, right,
And then
right. So that's when we were like, well, I guess it's more like a church kind of
Yeah,
sound, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
then we get into this, what is New Age religion?
Yeah, and then we start looking into that. And New Age religion is crazy because New Age religion is basically everything that most modern people believe in, at least one thing. And we were watching this video, the history of New Age, and it's basically I don't know what you'd call him, a pastor, basically something like that, a father, I don't know,
He wasn't really
preach.
giving you a history. He was actually giving you um, like
No, 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 he wasn't giving history. He was just giving like examples of what this New Age
yeah,
was.
like he was describing what it is, this new idea, this new age. And this is again, we found it on YouTube, but um we don't know what date. I didn't even
Yeah,
look
it
to
was
see
just
what the
posted a
original.
couple of months
Yeah,
ago,
we
but it
didn't see
looked
what
dated.
we didn't see
It
what the
looked dated.
original air date was. But yeah,
Probably somewhere in the
definitely
90s, early
right.
2000s.
Who knows? Yeah, I don't know, how far back it was, but yeah, this gentleman is speaking about. He's talked about all religions, and this um, episode that we were watching, I guess, is about the New Age religion, and yeah, it kind of encapsulates almost everything at this point in time that not only people believe, but
Everyone.
even the religions themselves have kind of adapted to.
Yeah.
Kind
And
of.
so like some some things that he was saying were, and again, people are going to get triggered, so be ready in the comment section. Anyways, so some of the stuff he was saying was basically that
he was
um
he was
how to bring this up lightly.
contrasting it. He was contrasting it to true Christianity.
Yes. Okay. So then there's things that this true Christianity believes in and things they don't. And a lot of people remember like this old form. So if you're like in the age of 30 or stuff like that, you kind of remember this older kind of religious setting, but the church was very strict in the sense that they didn't believe in homosexuality. They didn't believe that other religions were right. They didn't believe in these other teachings from other religions, right? And it's kind of hard to think about that, but a lot of things he was saying were modern issues that we're talking about today in politics and other stuff. But basically some of those topics being environment. The environment doesn't really matter, and that homosexuality doesn't really matter, that women's superiority, however that was worded,
Feminism.
feminism.
Yeah, feminism.
I'm not sure if
It
he was
was.
saying that
It
women
was.
were
It
less
was.
than men, but
It was
he
the.
was basically saying that feminism, like this whole
Yeah.
feminism movement, wasn't worth anything of substance. That dogs going to heaven and all that stuff doesn't exist when they die. That they just die. Anything other than humans can't enter heaven. Essentially, is basically what he was trying to get at. I feel like, and that there was some other stuff, like even simple stuff like yoga, that yoga wasn't really, you can't really believe in yoga because the whole idea is that if you meditate you feel more divine, or feel more at peace when you can't.
You can't be more godlike.
Yeah, you can't be this kind of divine setting internally, that it's external and stuff like that. Point being is that there was a lot of stuff that he was saying that was just like, oh, and that other religions were cults. That was a crazy one.
That there was a couple of ones of Jehovah's Witness.
Yes.
And I don't remember.
I
What
want
the
to
other
say
one.
he said Mormon.
Yeah,
I
I think
could
it
be
was
wrong.
Mormons. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and
it
that
was
he said that
Mormons.
there was
Yeah.
this rise of cults and spirituality, and that those were wrong. And it's like, well, then what's right? Like,
Right.
what is right in
It
your
was,
eyes?
but it was interesting because yes, he's talking about he's defining what true Christianity is. He did make statements about how all religions lead back to God, so they're good. But he did also say that true Christianity is the best
Yeah,
in the sense
in
that
that you
it's
shouldn't be persuaded by these other
yeah,
ideals that I mentioned earlier, and that they're
right,
not real in terms of anything divine.
yeah.
And it's like, that's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, it
That
was
is
interesting
very
because
weird.
yeah, having God in everything is not uh um it's not a practice in Christianity.
Yeah.
Being able to have God in everything would mean that God would be in you, making you godlike, and
That's not true.
that's
Yeah.
that's not a practice in Christianity.
Yeah. So it was strange kind of seeing that old kind of, I don't know what you call it, preaching.
It's just defining
and
what
I remember
things
some of
were.
that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I remember
defining.
some of that stuff back when we
Yeah.
used to go to church and all that.
And another interesting point too that he did bring up was that a lot of this New Age practices in this New Age religion stem from Hinduism.
Yeah, a lot of it is Hinduism and Taoism.
Yes, a lot of it is Hinduism and Taoism. So, and yeah, essentially, yes,
Karma,
this new
reincarnation,
this new idea of what it is to be New Age is essentially, what do you call it?
Sinful?
No, not sinful.
Sin.
I don't know. He defined it with some
Synnegate.
I don't know.
Like that.
It wasn't Synnegate.
I don't
can't
remember.
even remember. He had
synergy.
No, it wasn't synergy.
I don't know.
It was some term about
SEG.
Yeah, about how basically you mix
two or more beliefs,
ideas from different
religions into a new one.
Into a new one. And he was talking about how the religious outfits were warning that this New Age religion is the most dangerous, and that's the one that we should be most fearful for.
Yeah.
And it seems in retrospect that in this day and age, that's just where we're at. Like I said, with religions accepting
everything.
Yeah, not everything.
Well, most
not
things.
everything, but
so like I remember the biggest things where the Pope was like, I don't want to say he was like pro gay marriage or anything like that, but he didn't. Right. He was basically saying that, hey, we're all children of God or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, so the Pope being the holiest person on earth was like, it's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting to kind of put things into perspective and trying to understand where things are at. It's crazy out there. You see people just can't come together. They have different, they have similar interests, but they can't
would you say
come to a complete, there's a few interests that are opposing and they just can't.
Yeah, what were you saying earlier? That there was someone who split?
Oh yes, there was a religion that I want to say Methodist. I should actually maybe
you should look that up. Yeah.
But there's a religion that actually split into two sectors because they just couldn't come to an agreement on accepting the LGBTQ
plus
community, and there was another thing that just was dividing them, and they just couldn't come to terms with. And so since a lot of I guess ministries or whatever they call them, I don't know what the names.
I don't know. I'm so out of touch with religion. I don't know. We had to look up a video on their hierarchy. I didn't understand it either.
So basically, whatever their
place they go to
worship. Their worship is. They essentially divided them because so many of them were already accepting, homosexuals and whatnot, and becoming more progressive than the other ones. So they just decided they can't come together, so they're just going to split apart. And that's where we're at in this day and age. And it was so interesting to see how, what are we talking about? I guess maybe like 20, 30 years ago. When these ideas from this man were coming out, and it was, very clear of how he was defining things. And just, looking back though, it's like, whoa, that is not where we're at.
Yeah,
things are happening right now. And I think that's what's really unsettling, to a lot of people.
I think that's what people are scared of, though. I think that's that big change of, we're coming from this, again, 20, 30 years ago is what, your lifetime.
Yeah.
Is when you were born.
Right.
And, again, even 10 years, me and you are 15 years apart, and that's just enough of a difference to be like, I grew up without this hardcore religion. I grew up with, like, I guess, a mediocre
Yeah,
It's a mediocre
more of a
religion.
new age
Yeah,
religion.
and
Yeah,
I grew
you
up
had.
with a new age religion.
Yeah,
You grow up with like this
yeah. But it was
not
like,
as
yes,
old.
you can't. Yeah, but it was like you couldn't really veer from the religion, and you were seeing things where it was like the religion started veering from their beliefs.
Yeah.
And it's uh, where we're at. It reflects where things are at right now, and then we got to thinking.
Well, what's
So,
this new prophecy essentially? What is
well, not only the new prophecy, but so if stuff is so unsettling, like, uh, at what point does the majority of the population believe more in this new age idea and less so in this traditional
I
true
think
Christianity?
and then we looked up I looked up testimonies of how new religion has failed people, and
Mm-hmm.
then it was kind of interesting. And then I basically saw that some people were, or I made the conclusion that some people are going back to this kind of true Christianity,
Yeah.
that they're making the shift back. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's just we're all divided.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just hard.
Right. But again, it's uh, so essentially with true Christianity, you think of, because what we were talking about is you are not believing in God being in all,
Everywhere.
right. You're
Yeah,
not
you're not
believing,
hoping your car's
right.
gonna
You're not,
start.
yeah, you're not so spiritual as other people that can see miracles and all types of stuff. They believe a more traditional sense of things, of how they were in the Bible, and
Yeah.
that's their reference. And so they're going to continue to do things in a traditional sense, but the world we're living in is progressing so much, and
Hmm.
and that's why I say that even though you found some people, of course they're going to go back and forth or whatever, people that are trying to find something to believe in, but yeah, ultimately the masses that believe in true Christianity and a lot of stuff, and that um, a lot of the stories, for instance,
Jesus
Jesus walked
coming
on
down.
water.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Jesus doing the impossible.
Right. All these,
Jesus
things that,
coming down and guiding us to this kind of this path that we have to
right,
walk, I guess, is
dying and,
basically.
and rising from the dead,
Yeah.
these stories, you would have to ultimately leave those stories behind. As most people
Hmm.
have been like, that's not true. Most people are just like, that's not true. That's why I can't believe in religion. I'm more spiritual. That's what you hear nowadays. I'm
Hmm.
spiritual. I'm spiritual. So, how do you get the rest of the people to break away when they don't want to? And when we're at this point where it seems like you have to stick to true Christianity, or you have to um, pick what it is for this new um, religion, this new
Yeah, and I
idea, this
guess
new way of thinking.
the way to do it is that you would make things more relatable. I guess that would be the solution, and to make things more, um, I guess, easier to relate both in the new term and the old term, to make these core stories, these core beliefs of Jesus. I guess the core belief in the Jesus one would be like someone coming down or something, because Jesus is not human. I would like to think, for the most part, if this dude died and rose again.
Right.
Um, these I the I these ideas coming down and kind of guiding us to this new area, and I guess that would really take the place of technology.
So
And
what
to
I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, like, so in order for like true Christianity to continue, it would have to evolve, is what you're kind of
to
saying.
for to true Christianity to continue, it would have to teach in the modern times. So instead of Jesus coming down I'm not saying get rid of the story altogether, but instead of Jesus coming down and leading us into this better path, this enlightened path, so to say, to this better kind of life, it would be AI programs. It'd be AI programs to go ahead and help us get into this better kind of life. And I've been watching some crazy stuff about these programs that,
Right.
like I said on earlier podcasts, when was it recently? I just found out that basically AI is now going to be incorporated into oil. That they're basically going to have these programs to find out where these oil sites are and how to extract more of that oil without any kind of spills. And that's good and bad. That's good. I'm sorry, it's bad in the short term because, again, we are going to use more oil. We are going to use more of these fossil, what do they call them? Fossil fuels.
Fossil fuels.
Yeah, fossil fuels. And that's just the way things are going to go. And people who love the environment are going to hate it. But in the long term, once we go ahead and figure out, hey, we need to figure out how to make solar wind at the same time. We need to figure out how to make solar panels everywhere. We need to go ahead and make everything green.
Yeah.
Then at that point, these companies like Google, who are 100%, what's it called? Renewable energy, can go ahead and make everyone 100% renewable energy. So
Right.
you need some of this bad in order to make this good.
Yeah.
And then,
well, it's basically that, AI is going to start to be implemented in industry all over the place.
Every industry.
Yeah, every industry. And this is an example of how oil can really try to maximize their profits. And then from there,
make oil super cheap, hopefully.
Well, yeah, not only that, though, the people that are developing these AI programs will be able to continue developing more and more programs
for
more and
health
more intellectual.
industry.
Yes,
for everything.
They just
for your
continue to
phone.
get more and more
Like, hey,
intellectual, like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Leading you to this path of
hey, your phone telling you what to do. It's a
righteousness
wingman or something like that. Your phone's a wingman. Hey, man, go check out this bar right now. It's happening. It's happening.
Well, but talking in a religious sense, it's going to be
yes.
more with the moral compass.
Yes,
it would have a moral compass. And
hopefully it's a moral compass. Hopefully it has it. We programmed that in there.
Yeah. So,
but point being is that Jesus is this AI, and I'm gonna say that Jesus coming down is this AI program, coming to guide us to this better future, to this better kind of living, this better lifestyle, this idea of enlightenment, and that we go ahead and engineer it something beyond this, something beyond AI. And I think that's beyond AI. I wouldn't necessarily call it God, but I would call it divine, because it's going to be doing stuff that we can't even fathom right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be doing this whole idea of
it's basically
Skynet
like,
or something like that.
It's like being able to generate an organism or something like that.
Yes, it's going to be able to
create
life.
Yeah,
the synthetic being is going to create life.
What the hell?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what we're getting at.
So crazy, man. But it's so nuts that to think of, like, why are people just so at unease with each other? And it's like, people do not want to head in that direction, but everything seems to be heading that way. I mean, and it's coming fast.
If you're an old religion, adapt to newer stories. If you believe in
stories.
if newer stories. I don't know. Can they write another book? Is that legal? I don't know.
I mean, they already wrote one.
The first one is like #1 bestseller of all time, I think.
No, the Old Testament. There's the Old Testament, then there's the New
Testament. I know that, but anyway,
so
write another book.
I guess it's gonna be
another book,
the New Testament.
So. New plus, I don't know. Anyways, point being is that they would go ahead and write a New Testament, and then those of you who believe in this new religion, go look back into that, see what kind of truths you can find, see what these core stories teach you, and how you can apply them to real life. I guess you don't necessarily have to be religious or spiritual, but you need to understand there are things bigger than us. Yeah. Yes, there are things way bigger than us.
Right.
And so just go with that.
Yeah. So,
and see how it is.
That's how our music
journey started into religion. Yeah.
Let us into the religion.
Yeah, it's some crazy stuff. Things you can find on YouTube.
New age music.
Yeah. New age
Go
music.
figure, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like church stuff.
Yeah, it is church stuff.
Alrighty, guys.
All
Until next time.
See ya.